Welcome to Off-Grid Contracting, and welcome guys to another edition of this off-grid tiny house build. Now, here in a couple episodes from now, we're going to have this actually on the land and hooking up the utilities to it, the solar and the water. Right now, I am enclosing the walls in. We have the electrical in, and we have the plumbing in, and I'll be going over some electrical, the certain items, how things go into the utility access and all that. That'll be two separate videos, but I'm skipping ahead right now to go over this insulation because it's such a quick video. There's a couple ways that people do insulation in tiny houses, okay? There's spray foam, and that's usually double what it costs to do R13, okay? Now, what I've done is R13, and you can staple it on the outside lead edge of your 2x4s, or you can do it on the inside. I don't argue people because people's going to do what they want to do anyway. You can see how I done mine. That way it gives it a lot more gap away from the wall. And I know where my studs are, so when I go to put my tongue and groove, it's going to just go right through there real easy. Now, you see, there's places where that you might be, small gaps in the wall. You can always go back and stuff extra insulation in around that to keep that tight later, which I will do when I get to the end of the roll. Now, another thing is I was originally going to do really thin paneling. Okay, so with these electrical boxes, that was going to put it flush to the wall. Now we're going to do 1/4-inch tongue grooves, so I'm actually going to have to pull these back and nail them in a little bit. So I left an opening. What you can do once you've got that done and in place is, as you're putting the tongue and groove, is you can actually spray foam in there and fill that gap, and then that way, if you use the spray foam that's also non-flammable, non-conductive, that way it makes a good tight seal around the box too. Now, the only thing that I would encourage you to be careful about when doing insulation is around windows and stuff like that, caulk it, okay? And then if you can't caulk it and it's a wide gap, then spray foam it. Like right there, get spray foam, this would get caulk. And then I'd put my inset on the inside of the window trim here around, like so, and you'll see in a future video. Now, something that people don't take into account in tiny houses is the lofts. If you insulate, because I'm going to have tongue and groove below 1/4-inch, and I may do thicker above for the loft, the set on, but in between here I'm going to insulate. Now, people might be like, that's a little frivolous and wasteful, but consider this. If you're heating inside the house, that stops that heat from rising to the ceiling. You're keeping a lot more down bottom, and since I have so much loft, it's actually going to help hold the heat a little more down here. Also, I'm going to insulate the bathroom walls, and the reason being for that is so that not only do you take the noise factor away, but once the door shuts and seals, it's also going to reduce some of the noise of the stink fan blowing the air out, and I just think it's a lot more noise reduction. And plus, while you're doing it, it's literally like $10–15 investment, to insulate your inner walls because you're in such a small area. And the lofts, the same thing. You're talking $10–15 investment because it's only going to take probably 1 bat and a half to do the upper area. But now your ceilings actually had a leak, and so I had to resolve that issue. And so now we're going back and putting the insulation back up top because we figured out what was going on. The ceiling insulation, you can do R13 up there as well if you do really thin. I repurposed large shipping pallets, and cut those rafters out of that. Now, if you're doing 2x6 cut down for the top, I really encourage spray foam, at least for that. Looking back on the situation now, I think I would do that because not only that, where that you've put together your roofing OSB or whatever roofing material you've got, that's going to help hold all that solid and tight together, rigid, with time as well. And I think that's really important because it helps lock in your rafters together as well. Because that's pretty much all there is to insulating your tiny house. You just want to make sure and seal up every gap, because the last thing you're going to want is air leaking out or air leaking in. And another thing, real quick, just last note on this before we end this video, is like today, the gasket around the door, we went and put that back in today. Now that we've got our door pretty much finished up, we'll do some molding around this. And then I'm actually going to seal up some of the cracks in the door because we wanted it to like be expanded and like all old and rickety and broke down. But now I've got to go back and seal that just a little bit so that we don't want light shining through, but we do want it to look like that broken ancient door, medieval castle look. So you just want to make sure and everything's sealed up good. And when you seal around the door, not only make sure that you've sealed the door good, but you've also, when you coat your wood, you always want to make sure and coat the wood up top and bottom so moisture don't come in into the door as well. So just some thoughts about that. You can see right here where I've cut some angles so that the outside of the house looks like you know, a good bay window where it's got angles, nice angles accenting to that. What we're going to do here is we're actually just going to go in straight. You know, it's going to be a straight 45 square wall in here interior wise. And as far as the bay window goes. So what we done to accommodate that is we sprayed the soft foam that's really good and malleable, filled in that anywhere that those angles came together to meet, so that not only we have the sealed area, but we also have insulation in behind that as well, double insulating that. So guys, I hope that's a help to you. Check out the next videos coming up. It's going to be electrical and plumbing. And until we see you again, I hope you have a most blessed day in Yahushua name.